How's it going, everyone, and welcome in for another edition of the unofficial WCC Hoops podcast. I'm Zach Farmer, and got a great interview for you today. I'm going to be talking with LMU head coach Stan Johnson in just a bit. So excited to go into that. And before we kind of get into that, I do want to talk about LMU as a whole, to kind of preface this interview as we get into it. This LMU squad did a lot of really good things this past offseason. And this is a team, if healthy, I think can do a lot of good things. And over the last couple of years, we've kind of seen that from this LMU squad. When they're right, when they're healthy, they're one of the better teams in the WCC. We saw that especially 2 years ago. It's just in the run that they had through the conference schedule. By far the best season that LMU has had under Stan Johnson, but they've still had this inconsistency where last year they were banged up a lot. They went through a lot of different lineups, a lot of different combinations, and this is something that made last season frustrating for this LMU squad. Now, going into this year, there's a lot. They hit the transfer portal hard because this is kind of how, obviously, as we know, this is how you have to build in going into the season. They did go out and get Myron MJ Amy from San Jose State, 15-point per game scorer. They went out and got Jan Vide from UCLA, who looks like he's going to be a really good 2-3 for this squad, 6'6" guard. You brought in Javon Porter, who came over from Pepperdine, as we know, one of the more talented guys in the WCC, probably one of the guys going into last year we thought was maybe the NBA prospect, or at least like the highest ceiling NBA prospect that the WCC had this time a year ago. They brought in some others, but then also some of the returners. You bring back Alex Merkviladze, you bring back Rick Asanza, you bring back the likes of Will Johnston, guys who played some key roles a year ago. And so this LMU squad is not bare. There's still pieces from those squads of the past, from a couple years ago. But to me, this looks like maybe the most talented group that Stan Johnson has had going into the year. And then, of course, we can't forget about maybe the biggest addition of the offseason, which was bringing over Lorenzo Romar from Pepperdine to be on his staff there at Pepperdine. And we know how great of a recruiter he has been, and just the person he is as well. Because this is something like his guys are loyal. So you saw that Pepperdine, the end of the Pepperdine season a year ago, you could just see how much they were really doing it for Romar after the announcement that he was going to be let go. So with LMU, again, the pieces are all here. This is going to be a fascinating season for them. Again, if they can stay healthy, I think they're going to be right in the mix with everybody else, with the Santa Claras, with the USFs. But if not, this is where we start to they might look like what they did a year ago. Very talented, capable of beating anybody on any given night. But without that consistency in the roster, especially with so many new pieces, it becomes a challenge. All right. With that said, let's get into the interview with head coach Stan Johnson, who's entering his 5th season with the Lions. All right, happy to bring in LMU head coach Stan Johnson. He is entering his 5th season at the head of the Lions program. Stan, how's it going? How was your summer? And how's it been for the last few months?
Yeah, all's well. Thanks for having me. Summer's been great. Got no complaints. It's weird to hear you say entering 5th year. It seems like it's only been 2 years, but it's going by fast. Excited about this year and the group we have coming back, and hoping we can maintain and have great health this year. Something we really lacked a season ago. But we like our roster, we like our guys, and we like what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I swear, I was even going through a same 5th season. Even I had to kind of stop and wait, it's already been 5 years, because that pandemic time just really just kind of time warped everything. But I've seen a lot of the guys, a lot of the pieces you were able to bring in really kind of got me excited to kind of see what this group was going to do, because there was a lot of talent that you guys were able to bring in. I mean, look at the guys like Jan Vide, MJ Amy, obviously Javon Porter, who WCC guys are familiar with as well. As you kind of like were able to solidify the roster pretty quickly, I thought, like through the portal, like, and bringing in some like new freshmen as well. How are you like just talk a little bit about like those newcomers and what you're excited about to kind of see with that group, because it feels like that they're, at least on paper and watching some of the tape on these guys, there's more talent in this group on overall roster than maybe what you had a year ago.
Yeah, well, we really liked our team a year ago when we put it together. Like I said, injuries really derailed our season, so we never really got a chance to see how good we could be. But I think the one difference with this team and last year's team is just the size on the perimeter. We're a much bigger, much longer basketball team than we were. That was something that, injury or no injury, we felt like we needed to address. We needed to get bigger on the perimeter, and I think we've done that. That was our biggest thing. How can we become more skilled? How can we add more length, more size to the perimeter, and then more depth that can contribute to winning? And again, it's early. We haven't played any games, but so far, so good. We'll see how that translates once the game starts, once real practice officially starts, and then that's a whole nother ball of wax to deal with. But I do feel like what we set out to do, I felt like we got close to it.
And really thinking about, like, again, like you do look a lot bigger, like on in the back court, and where you're gonna, I think, like, there's a lot of challenges obviously in the WCC kind of coming into this year. And as you've started to see some of these guys in practice, what have you kind of learned about this group so far that has kind of like been either a pleasant surprise, or what's been kind of exciting to see in some of these early practices?
Yeah, I think we're still learning about our guys, but I think the one thing over the course of the 8-10 weeks we've been together now is we have a willing group. We have a group that early is wanted to really play together. A group that is, to this point, demonstrated that they're all about the right things. I think we have a competitive group. I think guys are challenging each other for time and for jobs, and it's a healthy type of competition, and at the same time still pulling for each other, which is hard to do. But like I said, a lot of times you don't really know till you get in the thick of it and the bullets start flying, and you kind of figure out who you really are. But to this point, that's what I've been most impressed with is we seem to have a willingness to want to help each other, want to have each other's backs, a willingness to want to compete, a willingness to want to do the right things. And the thing I love about them the most is just we have great people to be around every single day, which makes it that much better. I love seeing these guys and being around them. So that's a good sign.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and then also like just the number of guys you bring back a good number of key guys from even a year ago. I mean, Alex Merkvaladze, you bring back Rick Asanza, Lamaj Lewis, Will Johnston, Eric McBride. You have a bunch of guys who were playing like key roles a year ago, and we got to see at least. I mean, obviously, like, Rick was banged up quite a bit. Like Lamaj had to step in a little bit more. Aaron had to step in a little bit more, maybe a little earlier than expected. But kind of just talk about like maybe the progression that you've seen from the returners and what they've kind of meant as everyone else is trying to find their roles and find their rhythm, and what they've meant as, again, guys who've been through this program and been with you for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, Alex and Will have really grown tremendously. It's amazing what a year can make, whether it's your first year in the program, your second year, your third year. when you work and you have a great attitude. And those two guys, um, their work ethic and their work capacity is off the charts. And their games have taken a whole nother step. Um, Will's body's changed, much bigger, stronger, faster. And then just being comfortable in the offense and the defensive system. I think that really showed to be true this summer. And Alex has gotten leaner, and again, the game continues to slow down for him. It's great to have Rick back. We really didn't have Rick much last year. He was kind of in and out and then out forever. He was gone for the year. And what he means to our team never shows up on the stat sheet sometimes, just his presence, his ability to protect the rim, not just blocking shots, but making you not want to even drive in there. He makes your defense a lot better just by being there. So the game's also slowed down for Rick quite a bit. His offensive game is growing a little bit, which is fun to see. Then you got guys like, Aaron, I don't know how many weeks we lost him for. Last year, he broke his hand. He was out forever. And Lamaj had a concussion that set him out for a long, long time last year, too. So although those guys played, they missed a lot of games. So it's good to have them back. And, I think we've got about 7 returners back. And those guys have been great for our newcomers, being good teammates and kind of acclimating them in our culture and how we do things. And it's been fun to see. And I think our new guys have received that pretty well, too.
Yeah, this team, you talked about the injuries a lot and just guys who were missing a year ago. I think back to a couple of seasons ago when Rick was available and was healthy, you guys just looked completely different with him on the floor. And again, like he was kind of like key in a lot of those like big wins you guys had. And now that you guys are starting to kind of like fill in, like as you've had to refill some of those roster spots and everything else, like do you kind of like point back to what this team was capable of doing a couple of seasons ago to say like, if we're all right, if we have the guys in place and we play the way we're supposed to, this is kind of like this is this kind of not necessarily our ceiling, but this is the type of team that we can have going into the year.
Yeah. Every year is different. And, even that year, we felt like there was a couple games we let slip, and who knows what could have happened for our program in terms of postseason play. Now, obviously we had a really good year. And, I think, again, the hope for every coach in the league is to be healthy and to finish as high as you can and play in the postseason. So those are obviously always our goals, and that's the standard we want to have here. And we hope that, again, with a healthy team, a team that is bought into all the right things, that a couple of years ago is not our ceiling. We want to be better than what we were then. And that's what's, for us was a little disappointing about last year, that we felt like we had a chance to take another step, and we didn't. And but we have a whole nother opportunity. We have a brand new basketball team with lots of potential, and it's up to us to turn that potential into reality. And the only way to do that is through tremendous work and being great teammates and having the right kind of attitude.
We talked about like the return, but you also have amongst the transfers, you have some guys who with a good amount of experience. And this was similar to what you were able to bring in last year with a good number of college basketball vets. Thinking of Javon Porter, who knows the league, MJ Amy, who obviously like spent a good number of years at San Jose State, Caleb Stone, Carrawell, like a lot of college basketball vets. How trying to integrate these guys who know how to play at this level, who have had success at this level. What's it kind of been like, and kind of like integrating those groups? You got guys who have done it, but now have to kind of find their new role with just a different squad.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know if it's harder, but it's definitely it's a unique set of circumstances now with the portal and all that. You're trying to build a team as fast as you can, rather than back in the day trying to build a program. in a short period, you're trying to build chemistry. You're trying to deal with each guy specifically. Everybody is when they transfer, there's a different reason why, and everybody has something that you have to work through. Some guys may be in a place where maybe they didn't play as much wherever they were, and there's a confident issue. You're trying to get them back to who they are. Some other guys, it's an adjustment, obviously, just being in a new team, playing with new guys, a different role, a different set of expectations from the staff. So each guy is different. And, in the summer, we try to meet everybody where they're at emotionally, where they're at physically, and try to help them, become closer to who they've been or who they want to be. And then, from a team's perspective, how quickly can we get to know each other, truly get to know each other, and form a team that is going to trust and is going to buy in, and it's going to be vulnerable, because it's hard. All of us, including coaches, we all have different set of agendas. But, getting everyone to understand that if it's okay to care about yourself, but the best way to care about yourself is to do it through what's best for the team, because that's what in turn will help you out the most. So it's not this thing of you're not important and you shouldn't worry about you. I don't think that's fair. I think in life we all deal with that. It's okay, we know that's the case, but can we understand that if our team does well, it will come back to you individually. So those are the things that we try to really hit home in the summer, and lots of that has nothing to do with what you do on the court. It's the time away from the court we spend with each other, trying to mold that so we can have a team quickly.
And one of the things about, like, you talked about just like kind of like that gelling and that almost like that camaraderie that you guys have to try to build quickly. One of the coaches that kind of is pretty well known for, especially guys who just love him as a coach, is Lorenzo Romar, who you guys added as one of the assistant coaches to your staff. Long time, obviously, at Pepperdine and Washington as a head coach. What has his addition meant to the coaching staff, and how have you seen kind of like his impact kind of show early on?
I mean, he impacted us from day one. When he got here. I mean, Coach Romar. I say this all the time when people ask me about him. I don't know if I've ever been around someone who makes you want to be a better person. Just his presence. Forget coaching or better player. Uh, he he's such a outstanding human being, and he's all about the right things. And for me, Coach Romar in his days at Washington, when I was coming up in the business, I mean, that was my idol. That was the guy in the profession. I would love to one day work for him. I would love to one day be like him. So to have the opportunity to even have him interested in what we were doing, nonetheless, say, hey, man, I want to be a part of what you're doing. It's been one of the great blessings in my life. And I can't tell you how powerful it is to have him here. And I've told everybody, you name every recruit we have, he is the best recruit we got this offseason. And I think our program is going to benefit from it greatly. It already has. And our guys love him. He's been great for me. He's been great for our staff. All the things that we want to get accomplished here, the things I hope to do as a coach, he's done. So to have somebody take an interest in you like he's done in me and us, and walk this walk with you, I can't even put it into words, but I love having him here. I have to pinch myself every day, to make sure I'm not dreaming, but he's been incredible.
Yeah, it's like he's been one of my favorites. Always, he takes the time. Like, he's as nice of a guy as you could possibly meet. Every time I've interacted with him has been great. I've been probably, I think, interacting with him for I think it's close to a decade for me as well. So it's like it's a long time. And like, yeah, Rowe is like he's one of the best.
Yeah.
It, and as you've kind of like started to kind of build toward this season, and obviously like you have a lot of pieces, and you talked about like having to build a team rather than build a program, or at least like that's the way the kind of the portal has kind of forced you into that kind of scenario. When you're building a schedule, does that kind of also kind of play into like we need a couple of games to kind of get into a rhythm, or how does that kind of play into as you're working out what the non-conference is going to be, how that's going to balance out how you build a schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly that's a part of it. The flip side of it, it's like, hey, every place is going to lose about 6 guys a year, or you're always going to be losing guys. So, try to put the best schedule you can put together to put you in position and go from there. And yeah, I think you can say, hey, early on we'd like to gradually step our way into this, but there's no gradual. I mean, every team in college basketball, because of the portal now, has a chance to really improve. And have an opportunity to win any game. So for us, we're trying to put the best schedule we can put together to be in position. Scheduling has become much harder, and it's always been a hard job because of the portal. It's been pushed back. Now it's later. We still have 2 games we're trying to finalize here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the portal has definitely made scheduling harder, but it's hard to judge every year who's going to have what. My philosophy is let's play the best schedule we can possibly play and try to give our guys a chance.
And as you prepped and are getting ready for your 5th year at LMU, what's kind of like what are the things that is there almost like a warm up or like a ritual that you have as you kind of like get ready for those first few games, or what's kind of like do you have like a preseason routine almost that you kind of like have to have that you yourself kind of like get ready for?
Well, most of my stuff is done in the summer. Once our team has been put together and we understand who we have, there's always an evaluation period of the year before. But even that's become harder because, we have a whole new team. So some of the things we struggled with last year, it's not like our whole team's coming back and here's our weak points. With all these new guys, it's how much of that carries over, I'm not sure. But I try to spend time, in the summer, really tearing our program down and then building it back up and coming up with here's going to be what we want to get done offensively from an improvement standpoint, from an addition standpoint, what we want to do defensively, again, from an improvement standpoint, what we want to add. And some of that's based on, our roster and the personnel. And then it's building up our staff. We try to get away and do as a staff. We've got a staff advance. We do prior to the season started. We have 2 team advances that we do to get them away. Again, trying to build the team, and then it's just a matter of implement your implementation calendar, getting things in before the season starts. But that's kind of our rhythm and our beat.
All right, and 2 new additions to the WCC this year: Washington State and Oregon State. Obviously, like I know, like it's very early. We don't barely kind of know what their rosters look like at this point. But have you been to Corvallis or Pullman before? And what was there a spot that you liked in either of those cities?
Well, I have been to both cities. Not out enough to give you a spot that I like, but been to both cities. I think it's a tremendous add to have 2 schools of that caliber. I think our league is one of the best leagues in the country, and it's gotten better with the addition of both those people. And for me, it doesn't even matter who they have on the team. I have so much respect for both those coaches and the staffs. Those are tremendous coaching staffs and great head coaches. And they've made the league harder. You know, it's two teams that are going to be very difficult to play against, and but for the betterment of the league, I'm really excited and happy to have them be a part of the WCC.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Stan, for hopping on and giving some time, getting a little background on where LMU is at this point. Stan Johnson entering his 5th season with LMU. Thanks a lot, and we will definitely catch up down the road.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach.